Nova Bennett stepped into the polished lobby of Bennett and Cole Associates, holding a slim folder under her arm. She had only come to drop off some documents her sister had forgotten at brunch. Dressed casually in jeans and a soft gray sweatshirt, she looked completely out of place among the tailored suits. Her brother-in-law, Adrian Cole, stood near the reception desk with a cluster of junior associates orbiting him. His grin widened when he spotted her. "Well, look who finally stepped into a real office," Adrian announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. "My wife's jobless sister. Still doing those remote gigs." His colleagues chuckled obediently. Nova simply stood there, unbothered. The receptionist, Mia, looked pale, her hands trembling as she typed. "Mr. Cole," she began, "perhaps." "It's fine, Mia," Adrian interrupted. "She's family. I can talk straight." He smirked again. "So, Nova, what kind of odd jobs are we talking about these days? Social media? Virtual assistant stuff? Maybe selling handmade soaps online?" Nova tilted her head slightly. "Legal advisory services." Adrian's laugh filled the lobby. "Legal advisory? You never even finished law school." "I did," she replied softly. "Yale Law. Class of 2016. The laughter stopped. Adrian blinked, his expression stiffening. "Yale, huh? That's not what Lila said." "My sister doesn't know everything," Nova replied evenly. "We've grown apart since your wedding." He recovered quickly, straightening his tie. "All right, Yale graduate. Then why aren't you working at a proper firm? Couldn't handle the pressure?" His audience snickered again. Adrian fed off it. "That's the problem with people like you. Big dreams, zero stamina. Probably couldn't manage the hours or the competition." Mia's typing became frantic. "Mr. Cole," she whispered, "I really think you should stop." "I'm mentoring here, Mia," he said, waving her off. "Tell you what, Nova. I'll talk to HR. Maybe get you into file review. Temporary gig, nothing fancy, but at least you'd be adding value instead of pretending to work at coffee shops." "That's generous," Nova said, her tone calm and steady. "I mean it," Adrian pressed. $50 an hour. You'll thank me later." At that moment, the elevator chimed. Nova didn't move. She simply watched his confident smirk, knowing everything was about to change. The door slid open and a deep, familiar voice boomed across the lobby. "Ah, there she is. The elusive genius herself." Gerald Thompson, the firm's senior managing partner, strode out, arms open in welcome. "Nova Bennett, you're finally gracing us with your presence." Adrian froze. His face drained of color. Gerald reached Nova in 3 quick strides and pulled her into a warm hug. "You disappear for months, and now you sneak in unannounced? We miss you around here." Nova smiled politely. "Just dropping off some documents for Lila. Didn't mean to interrupt." "Interrupt?" Gerald laughed heartily. "You built this place. You can walk in any time." He turned to Adrian's group, beaming. "Everyone meet Nova Bennett, co-founder of Bennett & Cole, creator of the Bennett reorganization method, and the reason this firm even exists." Silence rippled through the lobby. Adrian's mouth fell open. "See co-founder?" "Indeed," Gerald said proudly. "Straight out of Yale Law. She designed our entire business model. Without Nova, there'd be no Bennett & Cole Associates." Adrian's pulse quickened. "That can't be right," he stammered. Lila said, "She said Nova was freelancing." "I do work remotely," Nova said evenly. "I manage our most private corporate clients. Last year alone, I oversaw 14 acquisitions worth over $3 billion. Gerald laughed with pride. "She's being modest. Nova's one of the top-earning lawyers in the state. Under 40, no less." Adrian's team exchanged stunned glances. The same people who had laughed now avoided his eyes. Mia, finally composed, whispered, "Miss Bennett, I tried to warn him." Nova smiled softly. "It's all right, Mia. No harm done." Gerald looked puzzled. "Warn him about what?" "She was kindly offering me a temporary role in file review," Nova said lightly. The entire room froze. Gerald's brows shot up. "File review? Nova hasn't touched a case file in 8 years." She's cited by the Supreme Court for crying out loud. Adrian's jaw tightened. His confidence had evaporated, replaced by pure disbelief. Gerald walked toward the firm's wall of portraits, the original partners immortalized in polished frames. He gestured to one photograph. "There," he said proudly. "Our founding day. That's me, Nova, and two others." She was 26 and fearless. Adrian stared at the nameplate under her image. Nova Bennett, lead founder. "I had no idea," he whispered. "Lila never mentioned." "She didn't know," Nova replied. "I keep my professional life separate from family. Makes things simpler." One of the junior lawyers finally spoke. "Miss Bennett, I used your buyout framework in the Henderson case last month. It saved our client millions." Nova nodded approvingly. "Excellent work. Your filings were thorough." The young woman nearly teared up. "Thank you." Gerald turned back to Adrian. "Anything I need to know here? You look tense." Adrian swallowed hard. "No, sir. Just surprised." "Good," Gerald said. "Because this," he motioned around the lobby, "is a masterclass in humility." Nova passed the folder to Mia. "Please make sure my sister gets this." "Yes, Miss Bennett," Mia said quickly. As Nova turned to leave, Adrian called out, "Wait, Nova, please." She stopped but didn't turn. "I had no idea who you were. I swear I didn't mean to offend you." Nova faced him, expression unreadable. "You didn't offend me, Adrian. You revealed yourself." He blinked. "I was joking. Just family teasing." "No," she said softly. "You wanted to humiliate me to feel superior. You judged by appearances. That's who you are." Gerald's tone hardened. "Mr. Cole, your partner review is next month, isn't it?" "Yes, sir." "Good. We'll revisit what professional conduct looks like then." "Gerald," Nova interrupted gently, "let it go. We all make mistakes." Gerald sighed. "You're too kind as always." Adrian lowered his head. For the first time, silence suited him. Nova stepped into the elevator. Behind her, Gerald's laughter filled the space as he began recounting stories of her earliest victories. When the doors slid shut, she finally exhaled. Her phone buzzed with a message from Lila. "Marcus called. He sounded weird. What's going on?" Nova typed slowly. "Long story. Lunch tomorrow?" Lila replied immediately. "Always. Noon at Luigi's." Nova smiled faintly. She had spent 8 years building a quiet empire, one her own family had mistaken for failure. Tomorrow it was time to tell the truth. The next day, Nova arrived at Luigi's Bistro a few minutes early. Lila was already there, tapping her glass anxiously. "Okay," Lila blurted the moment Nova sat down. "What on earth happened?" "Adrian came home pale as paper, muttering about you being his boss." Nova folded her napkin neatly. "That part's true." Lila stared. "True? You own Bennett and Cole?" "Co-own," Nova corrected. "Gerald and I built it together, right after law school." Lila shook her head in disbelief. "You told me you were freelancing." "I said I worked remotely," Nova clarified. "I never said for whom." Lila covered her face. "Oh my God. I sent you money last year. Grocery money." Nova chuckled softly. "And I appreciated it. Intent matters more than amount." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "All this time, I thought you were struggling." "I wasn't," Nova said gently. "But I wanted a relationship built on love, not admiration. I needed family, not fans." Lila sniffed. "Adrian's mortified. He told me everything he said to you. I don't even know how to face you." Nova reached across the table and squeezed her sister's hand. "It's fine. He showed me who he is. That's his burden, not yours." Lila laughed weakly. "He called you a phantom partner. Guess he wasn't wrong." Nova smiled. "That's what my team calls me, someone who works behind the scenes." "You're worth $40 million, Nova. How are you so calm about it?" "Because peace is worth more," she replied. Over dessert, Lila asked quietly, "What happens to Adrian now?" "That depends on him," Nova replied. "Gerald's fair. If Adrian learns from this, he'll recover. If not, the firm will move on." Lila nodded slowly. You could have destroyed him. I don't destroy people, Nova said simply. I let them destroy their own illusions. The waiter brought their check. Lila placed her card down, but Nova slid it away gently. My treat. After all these years of me sending you grocery money? Lila teased through a sniffle. Exactly, Nova said, smiling. This one's on me. As they stepped out of Luigi's, Lila lingered beside Nova's car. You know, she said softly, I always thought you pulled away because you resented me for marrying Adrian. Nova shook her head. No, Lila. I pulled away because success changes how people treat you. I didn't want that between us. Lila's eyes glistened. You could have told me the truth. I could have, Nova admitted. But would you have believed it then? Lila smiled weakly. Probably not. I still pictured you struggling with Wi-Fi and coffee shops. Let's just say the Wi-Fi's been excellent, Nova teased gently. They laughed together, tension dissolving. For the first time in years, Lila hugged her sister tightly. I'm proud of you, she whispered. I know, Nova said quietly. That's all I ever needed. Traffic was light on the way home. Nova kept the radio off, letting the silence settle around her. The city's skyline shimmered in the distance, familiar, grounding. She thought about the years she'd spent building something out of nothing, the late nights, the self-doubt, the victories she celebrated alone. Every brick of Bennett and Cole had been laid with intention. And yet, somehow, the validation she'd wanted most wasn't from investors or clients, it was from family. Her phone buzzed at a red light. A message from Gerald read. Adrian submitted a formal apology. Detailed and humble. Might be learning something. Nova smiled faintly and replied, That's good. Growth starts with humility. Nova's car turned down a quiet street lined with jacaranda trees. Behind her home sat a renovated outbuilding, her true workspace. Inside, floor-to-ceiling shelves held binders, awards, and client files. She settled into her ergonomic chair, opened her laptop, and scanned 3 new acquisition proposals. Her mind switched effortlessly into business mode. Still, a part of her replayed the morning's confrontation. Adrian's arrogance had been textbook insecurity, a reminder of why she'd chosen discretion over display. Gerald's words echoed in her mind, a masterclass in humility. Nova exhaled slowly. Yes, she thought. That's exactly what it was. Her phone rang, Gerald again. Nova, just finished a partners meeting, he said. You're trending in the office like a legend. Even the interns are quoting your reorganization methods. Nova chuckled. I didn't mean to make an entrance. You never do, Gerald replied. That's your strength. Quiet excellence. Anyway, Adrian's shaken but reflective. Might actually turn into a decent lawyer. I hope he does, Nova said. He's got potential. Just needs perspective. Perspective you gave him, Gerald noted. Intentionally or not. Nova smiled. Sometimes the best lessons aren't planned. After hanging up, Nova leaned back and stared out the window. Success had never been about wealth to her. It had been about freedom, the ability to choose kindness without fear of losing status. She thought about the young woman who'd once walked into Gerald's office 8 years ago with a binder full of notes and a trembling voice. That woman had been determined to change how corporate law treated small businesses. Now, her firm was a national model. And still, her family believed she sold handmade crafts online. Nova laughed softly to herself. Maybe that's balance, she whispered. That evening, Lila called again. Adrian's home, she said quietly. He hasn't said much, but he's been pacing nonstop. Give him time, Nova replied. Reflection takes space. He told me you handled it with grace, Lila continued. Said you could have destroyed him in front of everyone, but didn't. I don't gain anything by breaking people, Nova said. I'd rather they learn. Lila sighed. He's lucky it's you he embarrassed and not someone else. Luck has nothing to do with it, Nova said. Maybe this is his turning point. 2 days later, an email from Adrian arrived. It was short but sincere. Nova, I owe you an apology. I spoke out of arrogance and ignorance. You deserved respect long before I knew your title. Thank you for handling my mistake with more dignity than I showed you. Adrian Cole. Nova reread it twice, then smiled. She typed back one line. Apology accepted. Learn from it and pay it forward. Sometimes, she thought, growth was its own victory. Word of the incident spread through the firm, but not in the way Nova feared. It became a quiet legend, a story whispered to new hires about respect and humility. They called her the phantom partner, the one who appeared without warning, changed everything, then vanished into her remote workspace. She found the nickname oddly fitting. She didn't need spotlight or applause. Results were her language. Weeks later, Nova mentored a young associate named Priya who reminded her of herself. Ambitious, but unsure. People won't always recognize your value right away, Nova advised. That's fine. You just keep showing up and doing excellent work. Priya nodded eagerly. Even if they underestimate you? Especially then, Nova said, smiling. Let your results speak. They're louder than arrogance. Ever will. Lila stopped by Nova's office one afternoon, eyes wide as she took in the modern workspace. So, this is where the magic happens. Nova laughed. Magic, or just really good Wi-Fi. Lila touched one of the awards on the shelf. You've built something incredible. It took years, Nova admitted. And a lot of patience. Lila hesitated. Adrian's been different lately. More grounded. He's even volunteering for pro bono work. Good, Nova said. He's learning that respect is a currency too. A month later, a business magazine requested an interview with Nova. She declined the cover feature, but agreed to a written profile. The article was titled The Invisible Architect of Modern Corporate Law. When it was published, her inbox flooded with messages from young lawyers thanking her for proving that brilliance didn't need bravado. She replied to everyone. Focus on substance, not spectacle, she wrote repeatedly. One weekend, Nova stopped by a cafe near the office. As she opened her laptop, a student approached her nervously. Are you Nova Bennett, the lawyer? Nova smiled. Depends on the kind of lawyer you mean. The one from the article, the student said quickly. You inspired me to apply to law school. Nova's chest warmed. Then promise me something, she said. Don't chase prestige. Chase purpose. I will, the student said earnestly. Later that afternoon, Gerald called again. Nova, I'm heading to New York for the merger conference. Want to join? She hesitated. You know I prefer remote work. I know, he said. But people need to see you once in a while. You've become a myth. Nova chuckled. Fine. One appearance. Then I vanish again. Deal, Gerald laughed. The phantom partner strikes once more. At the conference, Nova's presence drew quiet attention. Executives whispered her name, analysts scribbled notes. A moderator approached her after the panel. Ms. Bennett, your approach to corporate restructuring is revolutionary. Would you consider teaching? Perhaps someday, Nova said politely. For now, I still have a few companies left to fix. As she walked away, Gerald murmured, You realize half the room just Googled you? Nova smiled. Then I've already said too much. That evening, Nova and Gerald shared dinner overlooking the city skyline. You've come a long way, Gerald said. 8 years ago, you were just a determined graduate with a binder full of dreams. I still have that binder, Nova said. It's a reminder that ambition needs humility. Gerald raised his glass. To quiet revolutions. Nova clinked hers gently. And to the people who never stop learning. Weeks later, Lila hosted a small family dinner. Adrian greeted Nova awkwardly, but sincerely. I owe you more than an apology, he said. You showed me what real professionalism looks like. Nova smiled. Apologies enough. Let your work do the rest. Lila watched them both, relief softening her face. Maybe this family's learning, finally. Growth is contagious, Nova replied. After dinner, Adrian quietly handed Nova a letter. Inside, he had written, Thank you for not embarrassing me when you had every right to. You showed grace instead of pride. I hope to do the same someday. Nova folded the letter and said simply, "Then start today." Back in her office, Nova reviewed another set of acquisition files. Her team awaited her feedback by morning. She typed notes, her fingers moving steadily across the keyboard. This, the quiet creation, the unseen brilliance, was where she belonged. Her name didn't need to be shouted from billboards. It was etched in contracts, in boardrooms, and in the quiet respect of those who finally understood her worth. As dawn crept in, Nova paused to sip her coffee. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman at peace, not because she had proven herself, but because she no longer needed to. Success, she thought, isn't about being seen. It's about being sure of who you are when no one is watching. Nova closed her laptop and stepped outside. The first light of morning washed over her workspace, soft and golden. She inhaled deeply, feeling gratitude instead of pride. She had built her empire in silence, faced arrogance with grace, chosen humility over applause. And in doing so, she had redefined what power truly meant, not dominance, but quiet strength. Her story, once hidden behind cafe windows and misunderstood assumptions, was no longer about proving anything. It was about peace, purpose, and the kind of success that needed no audience.